Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Dropped Among This Crowd. This week's conversation is a really powerful one, and honestly, one of those stories that feels almost cinematic at times in the way everything unfolded. My guest this week, Sean Martin's journey into music started early, singing in choir at just 4 years old, before eventually picking up guitar and songwriting at 12 and recording his first album at 15. But before music fully took over his life, he found himself taking a very different path, joining Army Special Forces right out of high school, a decision that would ultimately change the course of his life forever. In this episode, Sean opens up about the traumatic experiences that led to his quick exit from the military, the difficult process of trying to reintegrate back into everyday life, and the unexpected kindness from strangers along the way that helped restore his faith in humanity during one of the hardest periods of his life. We also talk about rejection, resilience, mental health, PTSD, therapy, healing, and the way music becomes both an outlet and a lifeline through it all. From arriving in Los Angeles with Welcome to the Jungle playing as he hit Sunset Boulevard, to attending Musicians Institute, forming the Quarantined, working with legendary engineer G1 Archie, losing nearly everything, and eventually rebuilding his life and career in Nashville. Sean's story is one of survival, reinvention, and continuing to move forward no matter what. There's a lot packed into this one, and I'm really grateful Sean was willing to share his story so openly. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Hey, music lovers, Sarah J here. Looking for an inclusive space where you can connect with fellow fans, deep dive into your favorite music, and be a part of something special? Well, look no further. Join us on Patreon, where music and community come together. Get exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and a place to geek out over the artists you love, plus explore music you haven't heard yet. Come hang out with us. Patreon.com/DATC Media Company. That's patreon.com/DATC Media Company. See you there. A member of the DATC Media family. First
Sure.
of all, thank you for your time. Welcome to Dropped Among This Crowd podcast. This is going to be a great conversation. So let's just start at the start. Let's talk about your relationship with music. What was that like growing up in your household and your family, and where are your musical roots at?
Yeah, so I I started being involved in music before I became like a really active listener. So I started singing in community choirs when I was 4 years old. So they would tell me, "Hey, just sing these lines; it'll be really cute." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure," like totally. So I was happy to be up on stage and be performing because that's what music was to me. It was expression. you
Yeah.
know it was an active thing that you participate in. So from then on, when I was 7, I was in my first opera, and it's when I learned the greater techniques of singing to really project, to really be a full on singer. I had the opportunities to learn from some great opera singers in the Mendocino Music Festival. We did the opera Tosca, and I was part of the little children's choir that would go around and be like, "Oh my God, you see the thing? Wow, wow!" And we were that part of the opera. So it was really fun. Like we didn't like everybody else is being serious except us, you know. So so it's really great for kids to do that role. And when I was 12, I started playing guitar and I started writing songs. And 15, I recorded 8 of them for my first album. That's working in the studio. So I had started working in the studio before I had really done like a rock band concert. I'd never just played my guitar in front of like a whole bunch of people until like 23, 24. Everything I did
Wow.
was in the
That's an
studio.
interesting kind of like a backdoor way in almost.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah.
I didn't have the masses. I didn't have like, I couldn't go to Reggae on the River and just be a reggae guy. I didn't that option was never available to me, you know. But that's the biggest festival in Northern California. That's like if you even if you just went to Reggae on the River, you were like, oh my, wow, you're really part of the culture then, aren't you? You know, like it was a big deal. Um, and like in New York, you guys have the Woodstock festivals over the years, so it's like you're part of that, then you're a part of the scene,
For
is
sure.
kind of like that. So then after the military, I was able to use the GI Bill and vocational rehab to go to Musicians Institute. And that was the formal training that got me into the details of the techniques of guitar, because I graduated in guitar performance in the independent artist program, which taught me about audio engineering and marketing and street marketing, especially what you can expect from contracts in the music industry, how to build yourself as an artist and do it legitimately, um, so that people get a good impression from you. And I took that course twice, and then I did audio engineering twice as well because the first time it didn't quite stick enough, and I still
Yeah.
and now spending still the next oh 10 years almost, still learning about audio engineering and how to mix my own music. And, all of this is, cursory and going around the open mic tours that I've done, where I just went out and planned out all of the open mics across the United States and went to the major cities and went to as many as I possibly could. And it really opened my eyes to what the music community really looks like, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. I love the music community. That's what my entire thing has been built on and continues to grow from the ethos of wherever it is. There's always the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people, of course, is like the Grateful Dead. That's like the first thing that people kind of like, when you think of like music community, people kind of go to that mindset. But really any band, any genre of music, everybody has one.
Right.
Everybody has that, even if it's a local music scene. Here in Buffalo, it's the local bands and the tribute acts, and there's the community within just even those. And it's a really incredible thing anyways. But then, I mean, I can personally speak going through things in my life and how that music community can extend much further than you kind of anticipate when you're playing music with people or going to see shows or things like that. And it's a really powerful thing that music does is it brings people together during those times when you really need each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me some more then from like the start. I'm so intrigued with your backdoor way into being involved in music. So when was your first live music experience?
Um, Being a live performer, though, I would say probably 2010. It's when I started in MI, being like a sideman for different bands. I would just go and audition as a guitarist. No, I didn't even tell them that I was a singer. And I would go and play along with these bands. We would play at sometimes weird places, sometimes at really, obvious places. My favorite one is we were um, playing for the entertainment for a marathon. So that was
Okay.
going through the woods. So we were at just one particular point in the race, but they could hear us all throughout the race because we were up at the top of the mountain playing off the mountain. And so then they would run and get closer to the music, and then they would pass it and be like, "Yeah, I So it was hilarious. Because we would just get these people passing by and be like, dude, I first heard you like 3 songs back and it was great, man. They're like, I wanted to stay, but I can't. I got to keep mowing. And they're just running with me. It was that was a really odd one. We had a great time just playing that show because like we're playing to no one and like directly in front of us, but the audience is passing by, us all the time, and they're all like, yeah, like waving at us. So, like, it was weird. It was really a weird one. Um,
What a
you know,
fun experience. I mean, there are probably the other side of the spectrum type gigs that you've, probably some pretty interesting venues that are not as fun as that.
oh yeah, the worst one that we had was we did a Battle of the Bands in Las Vegas in August, and it was in the Hard Rock Casino's parking lot. Now,
Okay.
if you've ever been to Las Vegas, you know that their parking lots are blacktop concrete. They're hot.
Yep.
And in August, super hot. And
It's
what they
very
did on this
hot.
on this particular time was they built a stage, but they used black wood. So when you set your pedal down on the black wood, it would start to melt. Literally. It was awful. We were up on stage, dudes were passing out, trying to play on the stage. It was so ill-advised. It was so bad. And then we drove out to Las Vegas to do the show, and then we drove back into Los Angeles to go play the Key Cub later that night. It was an absurd schedule.
That's intense. How did the Battle of the Bands go then, though? How did it go for you guys?
I think we got like third or something like that. Like, probably like much. We didn't move on to the next round, whatever it was. We played that and kept going. In the end, we were
Yeah, it was probably best. I mean, if that's their setup for a round of the thing, I mean, I don't know if it's going to get much better. So, probably
yeah,
best that you guys were like, we're good. Thanks for the
yeah.
experience.
In the end, yeah, probably.
For sure. So, let's take it back a little bit and talk to me about going into the military. Expand some more on that. So, why was that your choice of direction in life, and what branch were you in? Like, elaborate more on all of that part of your life.
Sure. So I joined up in the Airborne Infantry. And the original contract I signed was the Special Forces contract where it was the fast track into Special Forces. So through it, you would go to infantry basic training in the AIT, the all-in-one. Then you would go to airborne school, and then you would go to Special Forces training in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then
Mm-hmm.
you would get assigned to a Special Forces unit. But what I found out was you could defer at a particular time to go to a unit and deploy to Iraq and then go to special forces training, which would set you up very much for success to already have experience in a unit instead of showing up there straight out of basic training and probably be subject to that 90% drop rate, you
For
know?
sure.
So
Yeah.
that was essentially my trajectory through the military. But why I joined was a multifaceted um, series of problems that I was trying to solve. First being I didn't really do that great in college and at that particular or in high school. And at that particular time, uh, your grades were pretty much everything. And
Mhm.
it was also very much weighted to your expected family income and contribution. And if you didn't have that, um, basically you could just go into debt, a ridiculous amount of debt to go to junior colleges and get a never really, it's kind of like on you. And it's like, if I'm going to you, why am I teaching myself? Like this,
Yep.
this already doesn't make any damn sense to me. So, um, the options that I had to try and expand myself out of just being Fort Bragg and in Fort Bragg and working industry jobs until I fucking died was pretty
Yeah.
much the main option that I had, or join the military. But I joined the infantry and did the special forces contract because I wanted to be in things of consequence. I wanted to do stuff that had uh, importance and also could teach me skills about being well, at the time, really, I figured that if I was going to go into that, I would probably stay in it. And I was thinking that if I didn't, a special forces operator is the most able and capable person. If you can do that, you can do anything. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I might as well. And I was okay with the idea of learning to kill people, and I was okay with learning the skills to do that and retain those and use those for good and moral purposes. But those were things that I was consciously aware of, and I was at the time looking forward to, and that was obviously full of folly.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long were you there? What take us through the timeline of that?
So I joined in December 28th of 2004. Um, and basic training through until from then until about May or so. Um, then airborne school. Then we went to Fort Richardson, Alaska. We did a
Hmm.
year and a half of training out there in Fort Richardson. We went to
My dad worked out there. I was born and
oh,
raised outside Camp Lejeune. My dad was in the military for 34 plus years. He was a Marine. So that's why I was, other little things I was intrigued about your story. So sorry, go ahead.
okay, yeah. Yeah, so in the training at Fort Richardson, we you know they sent us to Thailand to go and train with the Thai military there. And so we trained them in CQB and like small unit tactics in urban environments. And they trained us on jungle warfare and Muay Thai. And it was really, really awesome.
I
Um,
bet.
yeah, and we had a little vacation time, like 3 days, where they took the entire unit down to Bangkok, where we stayed there at like a five-star hotel for like 2 or 3 days, and it was off the hook. People were doing crazy ass shit.
I bet.
Yeah, and, one last little hurrah before we went to Iraq in October of 2006. And we were there, and I was there until August of 2007, and I got out in September of 2007.
Wow. Okay. So what was the reason for that?
Well, it was kind of detailed. The reason for my quick exit was not planned. Um, Essentially, when I went back on leave in around April, a bunch of crazy shit had already happened. And it was already starting to affect me in ways that I didn't really understand because I felt like my mind was right, but my body was not right. And it started to more and more affect my mind deeper in in much deeper ways that I couldn't really understand at the time. Um, it made me feel really, really unstable, like I couldn't really interpret my reality correctly, or even more so, the things that I would be inspired to do were increasingly crazy, and that didn't make any sense because normally I'm a very logical, well thought out person, but shit was starting to get a little off the rails. And so my unit required me to go and see an army psychologist. And when I saw the army psychologist, he said, "Don't worry, everything you tell me will be confidential and we don't have to say anything." And so I told him everything that I just went through everything that happened in the deployment. And it was um, a lot of different combat experiences. And when I was done, I went on the rest of my leave. And when I got back to Camp Liberty in Baghdad, um, my unit was, "Where's Martin? He's not there, is he?" And they're like, "No, he's standing right next to me." They're like, "He's not there. He's not there." And we're like, "No, he's right here." They had to put me on the radio because the army psychologist had created this entire sort of bullshit opinion about what I was planning on doing. They thought that I was going to go AWOL, and I wasn't. And so they spread that information before I even had the chance to disprove it. So from that moment, they started packing up all of my shit. And when I got there, my entire can was fully packed up into two duffel bags. They were fully prepared to send that shit back. No one even talked to me. So after that time, the mentality in the unit was, even though I had been with them through everything, even though I'd already been through combat missions, killed with them, taken hundreds of detainees already, built a part of a patrol base with them, it didn't matter. A whole bunch of them still treated me like I was an enemy, and I ended up fighting with a whole bunch of them. And getting in the way because they were bullying other members of my team, and so I would get in the middle of it and get taken in for wall-to-wall counseling, and that's another story. We can talk about a fight if you know what wall-to-wall counseling is. We can. So after that, I got put into the talk, and previously in the unit, I had applied to be the sergeant major of the battalion's uh, personal guard. And when I went into the unit, or when I went into the interview, I was weighing the option of whether or not to be a team leader. And he respected that enough to where he was like, I'm going to let you go try to be a team leader, and we'll save it some other time. But if it wasn't for that, you'd be immediately taken. So um, when I was in the talk and the sergeant major came in and saw me, he's like, "The hell are you doing here? What is he doing here? Is he just he's on the he's on the radio? You stupid assholes! All right, you're coming with me." And so he he took me up to the battalion talk, where I then worked directly under him. I upped my security clearance. I couldn't tell. I was moved entirely out of the of my platoon. They didn't see me very much at all anymore after that. And when they asked me, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I actually can't tell you because your security clearance is too low." And they're like, "Shut up, you asshole. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "I can't tell you because So it was just this, and so eventually, like they still wanted to fuck with me, and I still got into more fights with people who were trying to show me up after that. And I was always going willing to go crazier than they were. And because at that point I had already killed, I had already done it from a distance, from close, from multiple different angles, seen it in multiple different ways, understood it better than some of the NCOs in my unit, and because they hadn't experienced it yet, and I had, and there's a very different mentality from Sean who showed up in October to the Sean who was standing there in by the end of the deployment. Is that person was completely dead.
Yeah.
So my final mission was to go and pull a guard on the north gate, and the person who I was pulling guard on was turned out to be a triple agent. Essentially, he was playing the army, he was playing local nationals, and he was playing terrorist groups around in the local region. And he was claiming to work for all of them, but was actually pointing them all at each other to destroy themselves, because each one of them had some role over the previous 4 or 5 years of killing every member of his family, extended family too. This dude was one of the smartest dudes that I had ever seen. He was also one of the most bitter, but he had good reason to. So he essentially, without getting bogged down into the details of everything that happened within this hour or so, essentially, it revealed to me how involved the army was with him, how close, what it was like talking with the directly to the enemy. Because I could see him, he had multiple different phones going back and forth, talking with people. It was unreal.
It's like something out of a movie.
It absolutely was. It was ridiculous. Like nobody normally acts like that. You know,
Yeah.
speaking of multiple different languages, multiple different dialects, keeping everything straight. It was this guy's entire life, and it was all coming to a completion at this moment. And the moment was he was going to kill everybody all at once with one VBID that was supposed to be set off, because he was going to have multiple different people at the same point of the North Gate and all get blown up by the VBID. So he's trying to get all of his contacts into one spot to blow them all up, collectively. And he didn't quite get everything that he wanted, but he did blow up the North Gate and kill a lot of people, local nationals, because there was the local national mart that we called the Haji Mart right next to the North Gate, and that they suffered the majority of the casualties. There were service members who were killed then, and I missed it by about 5 seconds. The blast of it was large enough where it blew me forward. I was walking and it blew me into a run forward. And it was a massive explosion. And when I knew that, I also got the piece of intel that his point of contact was the sergeant major. They they conspired together to have me there to get blown up. That was the one piece of information that he did leave me with, and I heard the sergeant major's voice on the phone. So when I took that back to him, I said, "What the hell are you sending me to die for?" And when I proved it to him and had the intel on it, and he denied it, I said, "Fuck you. We're gonna go meet with the colonel, and I'm gonna tell him everything." And he was trying to be like, "No, no, you don't want to do that." I'm like, "Yes, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do." So we got in a skiff in a secure area, and I laid out everything for the colonel. He had no idea what was going on. He had no idea that the sergeant major was running different missions like this without his knowledge at all, or solving the kinds of problems in the ways that he was solving them. He had no idea. So once I was able to level all of that out, the colonel gave me he gave me a choice. He said, "I'll give you a golden ticket into special forces. You'll get a recommendation from me and from the sergeant major, and most likely you'll get in. With the experience that you've already had, I don't think SEER school is going to be that bad because you've already been on the giving end of the SEER part. So I think you'll be okay. Uh, and or we'll give you the golden parachute out. We'll give you 50% disability start, right as you get out, and we'll get you out right away." And mind you, previous to this, it was reiterated to me over and over and over again that I was trapped. That there was absolutely no, even if I wanted to, there was no getting out of this. You are stuck here. You will be here in the army for as long as we can have you. For the contract you signed, that's what we're going to keep you for. There is no getting out of it. So the fact that he was like, "I'll get you out in 2 weeks if you take it," was unreal to me. It was absolutely absurd because it was like an impossibility. But when I looked at it, honestly, I said, "Am I going to continue to trust the people who tried to send me to my death? And if that's the standard for going into the special forces, I'm probably just going to see more and more and more of it. So what's going to stop? Like the thing that stopped me from not
Mm-hmm.
becoming them was my sense of ethics and not being who they were. And this is going to force me to become exactly like them, or I get the
Mm-hmm.
fuck out right now." And I said, "You know what? Get me the fuck out right now." And that's how I left.
That's amazing.
Like,
That's incredible. What an incredible story. Anyways, it seriously sounds like some scene out of a movie for sure. It's
I
something ripped right from some movie.
I know. I know. It's ridiculous. And honestly, like I kept saying it like to myself over and over again. And many, many times during the deployment, when crazy shit would happen, that's exactly what everybody would say. They'd be like, whenever some big explosion, it's like a movie, man. Or we go and take some large building, man, it was like a movie, man. Like we we all do that. And there
Yes.
were so many different times in which that was said. Like when I do make a movie of this, I'm gonna put that in there just to make it to have people realize this shit is on. Life becomes art and art becomes life, man. This is
It
weird.
blurs that weird line. And I think in a way there is like it's crazy, but almost in a way I think that almost attributes to things like PTSD because your brain is so unable to process these real life moments, situations, things, whatever it is, as things that actually happened because it is so much like not reality. And so I think that plays a layer into things like that. So elaborate on that then. So you leave, you get the hell out of Dodge, and where do you land? What happens after that?
So after that, I had a girlfriend at the time in Kenai, Alaska. and I went to go and stay with her. And eventually, it was revealed to me that she was cheating on me, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pack up my shit and just go. Um, and so I drove my '97 Honda Accord with studded tires out of Alaska. I drove from Kenai, Alaska, all the way back down to my hometown in Fort Bragg, California. That one road that's out of Alaska, where you have to go all the way up to the northern part of it and then back through the Yukon across and then back down. And at the time, there were parts of it that were not even paved. They were just gravel. And there were semis driving this because it's still a highway. It's
Mm-hmm.
a highway, but it's a gravel highway. And there are massive, 16-wheeler semis going down this in the middle of the winter. It's insane. We know it now as the ice road truckers and shit. But that's
Yep.
what I was seeing at the time, and it blew my mind. I
Oh,
pulled
I'm
up
sure. And they
inside.
don't give a fuck. They're just driving.
No, and for when I would come by in my '97 Encore with set of tires, it'd be like, "Oh, you got set of tires on there. Oh, you're having fun, ain't you? Ain't you?" You know, it was a hell of an experience.
I'm sure.
All of the people who I stopped, I found, some of these places that I would never otherwise go to. And some that may not exist anymore. This one place I remember I stopped at this place called the Rancheria. That was up, just south of the Yukon, and it was basically a bed and breakfast run by a husband and a wife. And it was, they had a little lake out there that they stocked all the time for fishing, and it was like summer cabins, but it was winter, so like it was their time where they just hung out in the main house area and made pancakes at 3 o'clock in the morning because that's what they did. Because most of the time, the reason why they did is because most of the time the truckers, the late night truckers who are driving, 2 to 3 a.m. is usually their cutoff. At some point because they've been going
Yeah.
since the middle of the day. So they have those pancakes ready just in case somebody comes by at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was the dude who came by at 2 or 3 in the morning.
That's
So I
awesome.
sat there and had pancakes with them and was telling them all this story, this crazy ass stories that I just got out of from the military, and they're like, we can't believe this is crazy, man. Like, really? Like, like it's amazing. I can't believe it. Here, have some more whiskey. You deserve it, man. You know, it was great. It was an amazing experience, all by candlelight, mind you, because this is, they have the heater that is not electric. It's wood.
Yeah. Yep.
And for them, electric is just wasting. So they have their wood and then everything else is candlelight. It was truly an amazing, little experience. And then I got up and kept going the next day, you know?
Again,
So
it sounds like something out of a movie, I'm telling you.
yeah, no, I know. It's totally unreal. I cannot wait to make the movie to go in and at least try to recreate this. It might be impossible, but you know, I'm hoping that we can. Because there's just too many moments that you know through all of this time I'm feeling inhuman. I'm feeling like I don't belong not just to this society but to the human race. I feel like I have probably been a part of something that is going to be a stain on the face of humanity for the rest of my generation's lives. And I have to not say a damn thing about it because at that point I was still under an NDA. I couldn't say anything about any of this to anybody, any of the details to anyone at all. Um, and so a lot of things I had to speak in sort of like a generalized idea to get them the detail that I spoke to you about. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even mention the idea of a sergeant major, let alone his name. Still can't. I'm still not going to give up his name. But there's so that's the level of disassociation I have from society. But all of these different little things, the things that I meet, these little bits of humanity that people are offering me as I'm going through, because they're still human and they're
Hmm.
able to still show me there's still kindness, there's still empathy in this world, there's still good things about this world it's worth fighting for. And it really gave me a lot of hope and inspiration just on that trip alone.
I'm sure. Well, the opposite side of the coin, I'm sure, experiencing humanity of people offering you into their home in the middle of the night for pancakes and whiskey is certainly a different sort of camaraderie and sense of community than what you are having in your unit. So I can only imagine how kind of that was a little bit of a culture shock just from that aspect of complete strangers just being like, yeah, let come in and have some pancakes and tell us your stories. And,
Yeah.
that's such a beautiful kind of introduction back into society.
Yeah.
So you get back home. Tell me what that's like when you get home and you're trying to kind of figure out what life is maybe gonna look like moving forward.
Well, at that point, I knew that I was going to go to Minneapolis to go to McNally and Smith, the music school there. Is actually in St. Paul, but Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin City. Um, so I stopped, at the time I had a very good friend named Kate who was the mother of my best friend from childhood. And she was a former school teacher, like elementary school teacher. And so when she was the most helpful person in my life at that point because she didn't judge anything of what I had done. She knew me as a kid. She knew me as like from those areas. So she still treated me not as a kid, but
Right.
as the personality that I was. And
Right.
it was a very subconscious and extremely smart way to get around PTSD, because she's reminding me of the humanity that had been lost under so many different years of not just the military, but of, adolescence.
Yeah.
And so it was a really amazing thing. And I would come back and visit her all the time as much as I could up until she died recently. And but at that time, she was extremely helpful to me getting back to and reconnecting with the version of me that was, you know, not traumatized.
Yeah.
And so then after that, I went to go visit back in Fort Bragg. And then I went over to Minneapolis and to St. Paul to go to McNally and Smith.
Why did you choose there to go to school?
Well, at the time, that was the only school that a music school that I thought was any good. I only knew of Juilliard, so I'm like, I want to play Metallica. I'm not gonna go to Juilliard and try to learn jazz. Like I don't give a fuck about jazz, man. Like so, I'm not going there. Where else am I gonna go? And all I had found at that point was McNally and Smith. But it turned out that that wasn't the right school for me because I went through their audition process, and when I when I did the in-person interview after I had driven all of this way to go to St. Paul, got a new apartment, got a new job, was very prepared to start my new life in Minneapolis, and I get uh, to the audition, and I show up with my Kirk Hammett signature electric guitar to plug into these stupid, solid state amps that are, like one by one little cube with the shitty. I'm like, does this thing have any distortion on it? And he's like, oh God, oh God. No. So by the time the audition is done, and I play like Jimi Hendrix, like Voodoo Child, and Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, and he's like, "You're not right for this school. You don't know two versions of a pentatonic scale. You don't know enough to be in this school. Your style is wrong. Like you're not that great. Your singing is off from your playing. I just don't like it. I don't think it has very much, a very good place in this school. I think we need to hold a higher standard of student. So go away." And I was like, "Really? That's your thing?" And he's like, "Yeah, you don't belong. I'll recommend that they, rescind your offer." I was like, "Damn. All right. Well, fuck you then." And so I went back and
For
thought
sure.
about it. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to school anymore. So I thought that dream was crushed. And I'm like, I'm still gonna, play guitar, but I'm just gonna have to do it without them, I guess. I guess they don't want free GI Bill money. And then they called me 2 weeks later and said, "Hey, why aren't you in classes?" And I said, "Oh, because your interview dude told me that I didn't belong there and that I shouldn't, that I needed to learn more than two versions of a pentatonic scale to actually be a member of your student body." And they were like, "What? No, 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 please come back to school. We'll have classes." I'm like, "Am I taking classes with that guy?" And they're like, "Well, actually, yeah." And I said, "No, I'm not going."
That's not happening.
Yeah, I said, "No, fuck you guys. No, I'm not going to school anymore. You guys can go fuck yourself." And so I didn't. And so then I stayed another year and a half, 2 years or so in Minneapolis, lived in a bunch of different places, made a whole bunch of different friends, worked a bunch of different jobs, tried to play, some music with some guys, around in the Twin Cities area. Made some good friends that I still talk to today. And but other than that, it really wasn't. Progressing me forward. And so then I finally heard about Musicians Institute in Hollywood. And then me and my girlfriend packed all of our shit up into a Ford Taurus and drove halfway across the country from Minneapolis to Los Angeles. And I will never forget when we showed up there after driving all of this time through the night, uh, you know, in those seeming like, like the Tarantino-esque with like
Yeah.
the sunset in the background and the shady desert, it's what it felt like driving through. And then we show up, and right as we pull on to Sunset Boulevard off of the 101, "Welcome to the Jungle" comes on the radio. Like literally right as I'm turning on onto Sunset Boulevard. I'm like,
It's a
it was
sign.
the sign. We're meant to be here. And then we stopped off at some shitty ass hotel that we had no idea was like the seediest thing in the world, and stopped there for the night. And you're like, "Oh, there's porn on the TV. That's the first channel. Maybe we're not in the good area of town."
I mean, you had to get the full LA experience, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, and we did. We eventually did. Yeah, I lived there for 9 years. Yeah, in multiple different areas, and that was just the beginning.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're there for 9 years. What happens while you're there? You're trying to start establishing some roots. You get into school. And so what does it look like for you to really start to know that you need to seek some sort of help with what's going on with you while you're simultaneously doing school and trying to figure out what life is? What does that look like next for you?
Yeah, so those two things were actually very separated. I wasn't really asking for help for a really long time. I didn't start asking for help until 2012. And then it was it was very, very difficult for me to think that I could be helped, because I'd been convinced that the best case scenario was I do just enough opiates to keep me just kind of not reactive,
Hmm.
and just kind of go through life that way. And that's what the VA was originally offering me. They were offering me different opioids and Xanax and Prozac. And when they turned me into a zombie because of that, and I just couldn't handle it anymore, I gave all of that up and just tried to raw dog reality, so to say, for
Yeah,
a
which
for a
is
good
a
long time.
disaster. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
so the first experience that I had with cannabis as proof that it was actually something that could help me was kind of a hilarious it, scene. So uh, I'm I had just gotten through a very long-winded fight with my girlfriend. I was exhausted. I had, shit going on with the band. There was drama with the band and my brother and, different friends. And I was failing at school. I was showing up, but I wasn't there. And I wasn't learning enough. I wasn't being able to focus enough on the stuff because I'm just not able to be there. to be present, to absorb everything that's happening because it's happening fast, man. Like Musicians Institute moves really fast, and it feels like it's not a lot of information, but it is. And if you're someplace else and not in the music mentality, man, you will miss it. And I was missing it. So I'm sitting there and I had gotten myself a treat with my last, $5 or so. I went and got myself a white chocolate mocha from the local coffee shop in Hollywood. So I'm sitting there crying into my white chocolate mocha and thinking, how the hell am I going to get out of this? I've got a shit apartment that I can't afford. I've got a girlfriend who freaking hates me. I've got, bandmates that, don't want to practice and I can't get myself up in the morning. What the hell is even going on? And I can't eat, I can't sleep. I don't know what the hell I'm even supposed to do with all of these problems because there's no solution to them. And my friend uh, came walking up and was like, he was from Fargo, and he was very much a sort of devil may care. Yeah, sure, man, we'll just make it happen. It'll be fun, like kind of about anything. He'll be like, "No, we need to like jump out of this car. Yeah, it'll be fun, man. You just go and tuck and roll. It'll be fine, man." Like he's that kind of guy, right? So he comes out to me and he's like, "Hey, man, what are you all sad about? There's no reason to be sad. It's a beautiful day." And I'm like, "Man, you have no idea. I can't even begin to describe it." And he's like, "You know what? I think I got something for you." So he goes into his friend's apartment. He comes back out with this, um, you know, cottage cheese sort of container, scoops a big thing out of there and just dollops it right into my coffee and goes, "There you go, man. It'll be fine. You'll be fine from now on." And I'm like, "What is that?" And he goes, "Weed butter." And it was like a big ass scoop of it. It was a big
Nice
dollop.
big glop.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, fine. I never really, I had smoked it before when I was a kid, but I was kind of opposed to it. I was still very much with the mindset that, I needed to drink myself out of it whenever I was feeling bad,
Hmm.
and I didn't have any solutions for any of the complex problems. Um, so I drank that and I was high for the next 3 days,
I
just
don't doubt
solidly
it.
high for the next 3 days. However, those next 3 days were the best days that I had had in a long time. I was very, very present in class. I was able to feel the pain, the normal pains of my body that were just constant, slowly lessen and become more relaxed. My body and nervous system was finally able to relax. So I was able to focus and play and do all these things. I had a great weekend, fantastic days through school. And by the time of it, I was like, I cannot wait to do that again.
Yeah.
And because I saw how many problems it fixed.
Hmm.
So from that was really the first time where I started to realize that there was hope beyond just what my nervous system was subject to. And it wasn't until 2012 that I realized that still wasn't enough. I needed to, once I was put into a VA psych ward, and then I was offered the option to go into an inpatient clinic for PTSD with combat veterans, and I would have a team of people to help me through this journey to understand and deal with PTSD in my everyday life. And I spent 6 months there and learned a whole hell of a lot. And that is what helped me get orientated to focus on the help. And I still had more school to go through. I graduated the guitar part of my education, but I still had the independent artist program. And so right around that time is when I started to utilize that for the quarantine and started to get the good recordings the first recordings that we would have that I sent into college radio, and that's how we got started.
That's incredible. So when you had the option to start this really intense therapy and all of these things, were you so ready or were you hesitant?
I was not ready. When my friends were dropping me off at the thing, I was like, please don't make me go, man. I don't know if it's gonna be good and they're like, dude, just stop it. You know that what you were doing before wasn't working. You can't go back to it. You have to go forward. And I
Yep.
was like, you know what? Fucking you're right. I can go into this and face it, and I can, if I can face all the shit that made me this way
Totally.
and actually live through that, I can face refacing it again later on in my life to just to understand it and overcome it. And I walked in there very hesitant and very scared, but I knew that I was taking a step in the right place. I mean, I still had a shit ton of paranoia. The first week and a half that I was there, I thought that everybody in there was like taking like very scrupulous notes of everything that I was doing. And I thought that like the people who were paying
Understandable to
attention to
feel
me,
that way.
yeah, were like, like I thought that they were all like these, I thought that everybody worked for them, not just the residents, because we're all living together. I thought
Right.
that I was very, very, very paranoid, not under a normal mindset at all. And it took me a while to start to open up. And once I did, it really opened me up into a community to realize that, I'm not only am I not the only one who feels exactly like that, but I've got
Mhm.
friends and people who are on the same level as me, dealing with the same stuff as me at the same time as me, and we can all step through this together. And that made a huge difference. And whereas, I'd wake up in the morning and smoke massive amounts of weed with my friends, and they'd be all cool with it and everything. But where's the real learning? You're still just avoiding,
Right.
you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, you're just masking it. You're using it as just an escape instead of using it. It can be used as a tool and use it, but still do the work alongside of it.
Right. Right.
So
And
talk to me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
getting into the details of the work of CBT, of exposure therapy, eventually later on EMDR, these kinds of specific um, actions gave me the basis of the tools to use on a daily basis, and that
Yeah.
made a huge difference.
Absolutely. Those coping things that you learn in your adult life where you wonder, you're like, where were these skills 25 years ago? These are what we should be learning in school to kind of try to head off those type of things later in life that all of us get to unpack. And as I love to affectionately say, unfuck yourself is how I like to put it. I'm trying to unfuck myself over here, whatever is going on in there.
Yeah,
So talk to me
absolutely.
some more about the band, how everyone came together and yeah, just kind of start at the start of the band.
Yeah, so in 2010 I started recording. So I had like real basic recordings. And so I took them to some of my friends at Musicians Institute. Alec DeCurvor and eventually to Alex Diaz, and then we met up with uh our friend Chad and then Casper's for the drummers, Casper's Lucy Greenberg's. And we started playing out live, and we all really meshed well together, jamming together with the under these songs, and everybody felt really good about them. So we kept doing that, and eventually Chad went on to go do other things, but Casper's and Alex and I went started moving forward with the band into the studio and into playing live in Los Angeles in 2020, from 2012 until about 2016, 2017.
So what are you guys doing now? You're still based in LA, is that where you are?
No, now I'm in Nashville.
Okay.
So in 2013 we were recording, like, we met up with the studio called Psycho Monkey Records. That was a guy named Matt Ferrari, and he had a recording studio in his house. And we essentially got a friend kind of deal with him, where we could spend about 2 or 3 months for a couple $1,000 to record all the songs that we had. And at that point, there was about 10 of them. And the first versions, we were all trying to record it ourselves, and he was the producer for it, and we were trying an engineer, and we were just trying to make that work. And eventually, we liked them, but there were aspects of the performance that we just weren't happy with, and we felt like we learned a lot about how the songs are supposed to really go on a record and how it's different than us playing them live you know and
Hmm.
then we wanted to get more into the detail of making a good quality record because that was what was going to establish the band. And then we went into Ultimate Studios Inc. and recorded Antiquated Hate, which we had the song The End, which was nominated for an Independent Music Award. We had that record mixed and mastered by George G1 Archie, who was the audio engineer for Death Row Records in its heyday. So
Nice.
so Tupac and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and he engineered all of their records. Um,
That's incredible.
yeah, it's amazing stories. And it was great to learn from him on how to be an independent music professional, you
Yeah, I
know.
bet.
And I really was a very short period of time. I'm talking like, 4 or 5 hours that I spent with G1 just picking his brain and talking with him about the record and the music industry and what I could do for myself to progress myself forward that's not dependent on everything else or anybody else. Um, and there was a lot to learn. But 2017, 2018 came around, and I had a manager at the time, and she got together with a different manager out of New York City, and uh, they essentially stole the copyright on distribution for the record when it came out. And then they sent me this absolutely atrocious contract that was, like, we own your likes and and likeness and rights to music and everything in perpetuity forever. you know, for under the entire universe. It's like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
The music business being the music
Right.
business.
And so like they already had the record, under distribution under their copyright, which is not the way that it's supposed to go. It was my
No.
record.
Yeah.
Um, and so then I had to kill that record entirely. And after that, the band was like, what are we supposed to do? We've got to continue, we've got to continue on in something that's going to be viable because right now this isn't viable, and
Yeah.
I don't blame them. And not to mention 2016 coming around, they're both immigrants. There's a different level of pressure going on to them. They have to start getting, towards citizenship or they have to get out, one or the other, you know? Um, so with those pressures, I knew that I knew I had to go it alone. And at the same time, it just so happened that I was also getting a divorce at that time.
Of course.
So I
Because
lose
when
my record.
life's in one area, life's in all the areas.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours, right?
Yeah.
So I lose my band, I lose my record, I lose my wife, I lose my home, I lose all sense of, Los Angeles is a place for me. I lose all sense of this world is a place for me again. And so from there, I decide, a friend of mine said, come out to Florida. Why not? Never been to Florida, might as well give it a shot.
Yeah.
You know? So I went out to Florida and lived there for a while. Um, and really took the time to get my head right, spend the time to, just focus on myself, give myself the basically just a year to uh not do anything that I didn't want to do. Because under
Hmm.
all of those different pressures, I was doing everything for everyone else. And I had totally forgotten what it was like to even take care of myself in the way that I want to. I didn't know how to make a good quality meal for myself. I just always relying on something else, like cutting some corner because I had so many different things to do. Los Angeles is a psychotic place to live because you constant, and especially during then, it was the side hustle era. If you don't
Yeah.
have 10,000 different side hustles, what is your real value as a person? Like it was,
Yeah.
it was fucking awful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so at that point, I wanted to just give up all of that and try to focus on what were the things that actually made me happy. And so I got there and I overcame it and I went to therapy and I, had therapists multiple times during the week, group therapies in Florida. There's a great community out there. I started playing baseball. I was getting, all of these different things ready to go. And I'm like, I'm going to start recording my own record, and I'm going to, start making a new version of the quarantine that's just based around me. And then COVID hits. And right as I'm I'm ready to face the world. The world is like, we are not ready to face you. We're fucking.
Yep. Turn around and go back inside.
Yeah, back around the other way. Keep going that way. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. So so then I took that
Lovely.
time. I took that time to keep focusing in on aversion to normalcy and the recording techniques and you know, recording covers. And so from then, that's when I did the open mic tour. After I left Florida, I went on an open mic tour. And I went all the way over to California and then back to Boston, where I recorded for a crowdfunding campaign that I was doing in the background of all that for, about a couple of months or so. And we recorded Instagram Hell and One Last Chance. And from there, I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, and then I went to. I decided to come to Nashville to go and finally record Aversion to Normalcy in the best possible light, and that ended up being at Sound Emporium Studios and Blackbird Studios in Nashville. And then we've released the record, and it's gone absolutely gangbusters. About a million or so streams, well over 40 million views on TikTok, and we're still climbing. And that's just the beginning. We haven't really solidified our absolute visual branding yet, and we're still going off the rails. So there's some really high potential there that we're still trying to make and shape in. We've got great ideas and a great team and people who are really dedicated and understand everything that's going on. It's no more half-assing anything. And the fact that it's taken me about 15 years to get this brand completely off the ground, from different, multiple people kneecapping us to just life happening to just, failures on my part to failures on other people's parts, dealing and making up for all of those different things for just, life beating you down. But now we have a much greater sense of how the business can work because I can take personal control of the revenue streams instead of letting them be something the label does. I take
Mhm.
direct control of these things and set them up personally so that I understand where it comes from. And that's a much better way to take control of your career than delegating it out to a label. And mind you, in Los Angeles, we were signed to a sub-major label. There's a part that I kind of left out about that. We were assigned to a sub-major label, and we were consequentially dropped from a sub-major label not long after it because their contract was about their studio time. They were telling us, oh, you could use as much studio time as you want to, but you have to pay $800 per hour. And we're like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, do you know who we are? Like, we're
Yeah.
not made of money. Like, we're signing with you because we're hoping to get to make money. Like, what the fuck's the matter with you? Um, so that was a really stupid, but very interesting exploration into the major labels. And it was just enough to be like, yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Or nor
It
that we
sounds
can.
like those stories you hear where people think that it's an overnight sensation, but it really takes decades of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears, literally and figuratively behind the scenes of all of these things that happened, and really people just see like the bamboo theory, I guess, is they don't see the roots that are establishing underground all those years, right, until the bamboo actually grows tall.
Yeah.
And you've certainly you've certainly had to lay some roots. That's for sure. So bring me up to now. Like, what has been going on in 2026, and what are you looking forward to this later this year and maybe next year?
Yeah. So this year we've got more to do with aversion to normalcy. We've got more music videos and short form content to make with it. We've got a mini documentary that is in the works.
That's
We've
fun.
got a yeah, it's going to be really really fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very high profile Netflix like Netflix quality type documentary.
Nice.
And
Nice.
this story really, really deserves to have it in a full context which people can understand. Because I've been saying it myself for so long. It'll be great to have that fully, laid out, fleshed out things so people can fully appreciate it in a very short
Absolutely.
period of time. Um, and then we've got a West Coast tour that we're looking on. We're looking at, from Denver over to California.
That's exciting. So you guys are just in the planning stages of that still?
Yeah, yeah, we've still got a few different things to work out, um, and it's about all I can really say about that. But we've got some great things planned, and for this next year and well into next year. It seems like uh, the opportunities that come available when you have a good quality record like A Version to Normalcy. Um, we're just starting to see just how deep that can really take you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious about any sort of fan interactions that you've had. I mean, so many artists talk about, people that they've met and they share about how their music impacted them and everything. And particularly for you and your story and how vocal you are about your background and your history and where you come from and everything like that. So, have you had any experiences with fans, people after shows that have left an impact on you?
Yeah. It's it's very it doesn't it's not like a constant thing, you know? And but at the same time, when it does happen, when you really get the people who've really heard it, it's kind of they look at you like uh you're an old lost friend, even though
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know um and that and somehow the conversations that we can have because of that are usually unending. And
yeah,
that's the thing that opens. It's not so much that they're just like, it's a great record, man. Yeah, okay. It's the effect that I can see on their conversation and how they then relate themselves under the
hmm,
issues. They start to critically think more. And I mean, I've seen people from way older generations and way younger generations both saying the same thing, which is crazy, you know?
yeah,
Then to be like, man, you really got me to think about not just music differently, but like how it can be delivered and then the messages on top of it. It's like sometimes we may not even agree politically at all. But I found that the music still transfers through that, the messages still transfer through that, and will still turn. It doesn't matter if their politics is in complete opposition to the point in the music. They'll still be able to relay the message and go, "That's an important message." That means that it's
yeah,
transferring through their subconscious, and that's how I know it's going to be there to stay. It's not
yeah,
just a flash in the pan. As soon as I express this in the right way to those people, it's going to connect with people continuously.
yeah, yeah. And that's a very special art form to be able to do that for sure. So that says a lot about you as a creator and songwriter and all of that. That
Well,
says
thank you.
that says a lot about you. Absolutely. So I'm curious, what does success look like for you now in relation to where you started with all of this?
Oh, I've been thinking a lot about that, and monetary success is one thing. Fame success is another. And I don't believe that this art form really facilitates either of those. I
Yeah.
feel like the success is in the creation of the art itself. If I can produce and perform that, then that's a success.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, there is a process to everything. So when I do want to make financial success out of the art, then I have to go about it using the art form itself to lead the way instead of trying to use the same old selling techniques. I have to try to apply the art uh, apply the selling techniques into the art, not the art to the selling techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding that balance in finding a true repeatable monetary success from it is still something I'm trying to find. There's not like there's money involved in going viral, but not much.
Right.
It's not like it's life changing money, you know.
Right.
What's really more important about it the is what it says about you and about the
Mm-hmm.
brand, um,
Absolutely.
about its accessibility and its reach. And so when you understand that a lot of things in this world are about posturing, the true success of of um, of a life is getting up every day and doing it. If you can still get up and do it, life's too. If you realize life is too short to not do what you want and to live the
Yeah.
life you want, and you go out and do that, you're successful. Because not everybody, I mean, so many people are locked in chains in just different forms. This entire world to me, is full of people who have to do a whole bunch of shit. Doesn't mean they want to. And if we can create a world where love leads the way to where we can start having when the need and desire for love is greater than the need and desire for power, then we'll truly know peace. It's Jimi Hendrix. But
Yeah.
truly, when we look towards creating a better world in ourselves and invest in ourselves, that's when we start showing that love and empathy has an ability in this world, and that's when true change can happen.
Absolutely. That's incredible. Well, um, I just would love for you to tell us where, we can follow you and get all your content and everything. But before we do that, if there's anything else that you want to talk about, mention anything that you wanted to cover that we didn't get to, I just want to make sure that you have have your time. So is there anything else that we didn't cover?
Um, no, I don't think so. I feel like it was pretty well looking. I don't know if you guys can see my
I
the
was
Abby
gonna say
on here.
who has come to come hang out with us.
See it's Abby. She's walking
Aww.
around right now. Abby.
Aww. Now, is she a service dog?
No, she is. I haven't taken her in for the actual training. She's not officially a service dog,
Yeah.
but she is very much an emotional support animal. She is very much an intelligent, um, you know, help to me. She knows when I'm down. She knows me pretty well.
Yeah.
And she's old. She's about 13 years old, and just still moving around great. We're probably going to go trucking around on the trails a little bit later this weekend. You know,
Nice.
it's really awesome. So yeah, we'll leave that. Abby is the is the thing that really keeps me going on a day-to-day basis.
I'm sure. I'm sure. That's amazing. I love that. This has been such an incredible conversation. Just what an incredible life. And you are just using your platform in a multitude of ways to cause a positive ripple effect in ways I'm sure that we'll never even truly know, not only with your music, but with speaking so candidly about everything that you have been through. And I think maybe that is one of the questions that I didn't ask you is your viewpoint on just mental health as a whole is just it's something I think people are definitely having more conversations about and kind of removing a lot of stigma around it, which is fantastic for a multitude of reasons. So I think just collectively, I would love your thoughts on that, but also from a man's perspective, because there is so much of that stigma and thought about men particularly speaking up and saying, hey, I need some help in whatever it is that's going on with them.
Yeah. Um, I'm particularly worried about the um the outward expression of men's mental health.
Yeah.
I'm kind of perturbed that there's this whole looks baxing thing. I don't know. It doesn't make any damn sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, if we're going to be that superficial, what the hell is are we supposed to do besides show the value in a critical thinker?
Mm-hmm.
What else are we supposed to do besides make them look as stupid as they feel on the inside, but
Mm-hmm.
just repressing? Truly, letting that open out into the world will actually make them a better person. They're just stopping it. So the more
Mm-hmm.
that we expose them for the absolute superficial idiots that they are, is actually helping them
Yeah.
move forward and open up to become honest and authentic with themselves.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Not everyone needs love and empathy. Sometimes you need some discipline and some boundaries. And
Yeah.
that's what is very helpful in for people's mental health. It's important to realize that the mental health uh thing is, advocacy is not just about always feeling better. It's not just about some kind of feeling positive about everything just because, and just if you keep a smile on that it'll be fine. No, that's not the fucking
Gaslighting the
point.
shit out of yourself.
Right. Yeah. You cannot lie to yourself that badly. So our society has taken a few wrong turns in the overall understanding simply because not every single time is it because of a bad actor.
Yeah.
It does come from ignorance. And honest ignorance is a hell of a lot better than willful stupidity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look
We,
for the temporary the will the ignorant instead of the stupid.
yeah. Yeah. All right, I like that. I'm glad we circled back to that. I'm glad we circled. I looked at my notes quick and I'm like, oh yeah, we've got to come back to that one.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. Just such an incredible conversation. Seriously, and I feel like we've really just scratched the surface, it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fantastic talking with you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm so excited to continue to watch everything that you're doing and what you got going on. And please keep me in the loop for sure as more music is released and you have all these other things going on. So please remind everybody listening where they're going to be able to find you and all the places on the interwebs.
Yeah, sure. So you can find us at thequarantined.com. It's QUARANTINED. Um, on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, at The Quarantined. We're on Bandcamp, thequarantine.bandcamp.com. It's got our full discography. It's not available anywhere else but on Bandcamp.
Nice.
Um, and uh, you can stream a version to normalcy on all of the streaming services that are around. Highly recommend you go and do that. Every single like, click, stream, comment, share helps us in very significant ways. So please go by doing that. If you see our content out there, just like and share it around. It helps.
Totally. Like and shares totally help. And I'm gonna go on and follow on all of my various Instagrams. That's my favorite place to hang out. So you'll see a whole bunch of my follows in a little bit here. So
Fantastic. I'll I'll return the favor. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this was so fantastic. Thank you for taking the time and thank you again for being so understanding a couple weeks ago. And see, I'm so glad because I was in such a much better space and energy to enjoy this incredible conversation with you. So thank you. I appreciate it so much in so many levels. So thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Of course. Of course. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your Friday. It's Friday, right? Yeah, it's Friday. Yeah, and let me know if there's anything else that I can help with. And yeah, I'd love to chat again sometime. So, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Will do. I'll keep you up
Awesome.
on and add to the list, and I'll let you know when if I'm coming around Buffalo.
Yeah, perfect for sure. Absolutely do that. And if you're ever in need of any help with gigs and stuff like that, I also do that around here too with
Oh, really?
various bands and venues and things like that too. So if you need any kind of contacts or info or thoughts or input up in this area, let me know.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful resource. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I
Yeah,
would love to.
absolutely. I'm serious. Definitely hit me up. So, okay.
Absolutely. Will do. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.